Dedicated to the great outdoors, it's Southern Woods and Waters with Hugh McNaughton. Southern Woods and Waters is brought to you by Gander Mountain, Greenform Construction, the Burns Insurance Group, Cunningham Buick GMC, Nashville Marine, America's Motorsports, and now here's Hugh.
All right, welcome everyone to this Thursday night's edition of Southern Woods and Waters, and I tell you what we're super excited about tonight. I have two great guests on here with me tonight, and also we're in the remodeling stage of our set, so you're going to get a look at a very new temporary set for us. So I hope you enjoy that too. I hope you enjoy the change. But let's get back to my guest for you right now. It is the one and only David Gnewikow.
Hey Hugh.
How you doing, David?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Well, now I've been following you a little bit here lately. You've been doing seminars about electronics and how to read that. So we're going to touch a little bit on that tonight, how important it is. If they missed this seminar that you just had, do they have opportunities to see you in other places? Give them also.
We may have some stuff coming down the road. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
So that's what we want to know. And along with David is another good friend of mine. He's the one that actually runs the Fishers of Men. And I got that right, Steve Wakefield. And Steve's been on the show before. He's brought some baits tonight that we're going to show a little bit more about those baits too, and what the change is and how that can better help you maybe catch that finicky bass that hasn't seen this bait before. So we got a great show for you tonight. I want to broaden out and say, David, you had standing room only. Yeah. Now I got to say, you were with Mickey Beck was doing Garmin.
Right.
You were doing the Hummingbird,
right? And
then you had Ben Parker doing Lowrance.
Yeah, we had a really good show. This was out at Clark Marine. For those of you guys that don't know, February 20th.
That's right.
And we talked about electronics from 8 in the morning until I couldn't talk anymore, about 5 that afternoon. And there was probably 100 folks there. Stuart and those guys out at Clark Marine did a great job of hosting us, and it was really good. Ben did a fantastic job. He's a Lowrance guy. I'm a Hummingbird guy, and even though we're somewhat competitors in terms of our technology, a lot of the principles are really the same. So I think it was really good for people to hear from myself and Mickey and Ben to kind of get the same principles from guys that are running different electronics.
And I think, don't you think though that some guys that may be running like a Garmin or something were afraid to ask? Yeah. Especially, a Lowrance guy wanting to ask a Hummingbird guy, they're kind of, it's intimidating a little bit.
Well, if you know me and Mickey and Ben, I can't speak.
You shouldn't.
I can't speak for me, but Ben and Mickey are pretty easy to talk to.
Yeah,
so, we're just there to help those guys. That's why Stuart puts that on out there at Clark Marine, and we just want to get as many of the fishing community there and help them understand what they're looking at. Guys spend thousands, thousands of dollars on electronics.
Yes.
And I cannot tell you how many emails and text messages and Facebook messages and phone calls I get that say, I've got $5,000 worth of electronics on my boat and I can turn it on and that's about it. Will you come help me? And that's what I do and Ben does. And it is well worth your time to sit down and talk to somebody that's really familiar with the equipment. As much money as electronics cost, you want to get the most out of it.
And you guys both, I know you and Ben will. I don't know about Mickey yet, if he will, but they can actually buy your time.
Right.
Like a guide, like a fishing guide,
right.
But all y'all talk about is electronics.
Yeah, and fortunately, life is busy, business is busy, so I'm doing a lot less of that than I used to. But I'll take people out, I probably don't do 5 or 10 a year, but I'll take them out, we'll say, we're going to spend 3 hours in your boat. I'm going to set up your electronics, we're going to set all the parameters, I'm going to show you what you're looking at. And my opinion, that's well worth your time and money doing that. Yeah. I think Ben is doing 2 or 3 of them a day.
Yes.
Sometimes in the summertime up on Kentucky Lake, because a lot of those guys up there, Kentucky Lake's a lake in the summertime. You better understand your electronics if you want to be able to find fish and compete. And so Ben does lots and lots of those up there. Brent Anderson does some. Several of my friends will do it. So yeah, it's well worth your time to find somebody. Those guys are out there like myself and Ben and Brent. Find somebody that's willing to teach you, because you can learn more in 2 hours riding around with somebody who spent 1,000 hours staring at that screen than you could learn in just days and days and days of staring at the screen and trying to figure out all the buttons to push.
How can, if somebody wants to do that, if they want to purchase your time or yours or anybody else's, is there a place where they can go to find out who's available?
I've got a website. It's davidgfishing.com. I've got my contact information on there. Ben Parker is Parker's Outfitters. Brent Anderson's Brent Anderson Fishing. I'm giving all these guys a free commercial. I hope you guys appreciate that. But I would just, I would, if I didn't want to go with one of those guys, I would just, Google electronics seminars or electronics teaching trips, and that's what I call mine, is electronics teaching trips. But there's definitely guys out there. I'm sure there's some guys around here. I know Mickey is very busy. He runs a couple businesses himself, but I'm sure he'd probably be willing to. But call one of the dealerships, call Clark Marine, call Nashville Marine, call these guys and say, hey, do you have somebody on your pro staff that can take me out? I get a lot of calls. I get calls all the time from Clark Marine that say, hey, we got a guy with real specific Humminbird questions. Can we send him to you? And I mean, that's my job as a pro staff, both for Humminbird and Triton and Mercury and Clark Marine.
Right.
I want to be able to help guys use those products to the best of their ability. So if you don't connect with me or Ben or one of these other guys, call your local dealership and ask them. They're going to have somebody that can help.
That's awesome. I tell you what, it is well worth the money that, like you said, you can spend more than $5,000. I've seen $12,000 spent on them. And tell us, what is the advantages of that? I mean, if a guy has, say, a HD9 or HD10 and then a 12 out here on the side, and he's running 4 screens. He's running a split screen here and a split screen there. But now I've seen rigs that are coming out that have 3 across the deal. What is going on?
Electronic companies are making money off
making money off of this.
Now, there really is an advantage, and I would have never probably bought into this. 10 years ago, I was using a little bitty 5-inch screen, and I found plenty of bass and caught plenty of bass doing that. But once we get into looking at side imaging technology and down imaging technology, now we have something called chirp, which I'll talk about chirp if we want to talk about chirp. But you want to be able to see, especially on your imaging screens, down imaging, side imaging, the bigger that picture, the better it is for you actually physically seeing bass, seeing bait fish.
Okay.
And that's one of the first things I do when I get in somebody's boat to help them get their stuff set up. Is like, no, we got to make this screen as big as we can. And so when people ask me, well, what Humminbird unit should I buy? I say the biggest one you can afford, because the bigger screen really helps. So what I do, and what a lot of guys are doing, is I do have 2 units. I have one unit where I run side imaging, and I'll run my map on that. And then on my other one, I may run sonar and down scan. So I'm getting different data, on split screens from both of these units. And some of that may be considered a little bit overkill, but there's been times where, I haven't caught them, hadn't seen them on the side scan, but I'll catch them on the sonar. Or, I've missed something here and I'll see something here. Ben was talking about, he actually runs 2 different maps. He's got one map on this one and one map on this one, because you guys know the Navionics chips and the Lowrance, they don't all show the same thing.
No, they don't.
Especially if you're really looking for structure. Now,
and there's a difference in platinum and just the regular one too.
And Humminbird, I always give away my secrets when I come on this show.
I still use one of yours.
Lake Master maps that Humminbird has. Now, they don't have Priest and Old Hickory yet, but Kentucky Lake, Gunnersville, it is unbelievable. I shouldn't even tell you how good it is. It's amazing. The first time I put that chip in my unit, I put the boat in at boat ramp, and I idled out, and I go, I didn't realize that was there. And I fished Kentucky Lake 1,000,000 times.
Yeah.
And I idled over there, and I went over this little hump, and those suckers were just loaded on it, and I turned around and caught them every cast, and I thought, well, that just paid for
it.
That
paid for that
chip. I just bought. So yeah, but I mean, that's the point of running multiple units, is you're getting more data. And I mean, guys, if we're going down the bank flipping, or we're casting a shad wrap at the rocks, you don't need all these units.
No.
But when you're fishing more offshore stuff, really scanning for bass, you know, trying to locate them on the electronics, the bigger the screens, and honestly, the more data you've got, the better you'll end up doing.
All right. Hey, we got to take a quick break. Right now, visit some of our fine sponsors, but when we come back, we're going to have more of David Gnewikow and our good friend Steve Wakefield. Hurry back to more of Southern Woods and Waters.